30-year highs, and increases in borrowing rates could soon add to the cost of living for indebted households. To discuss the state of New Zealand's economy, I'm joined by Jarden's economist and investment strategist, John Carran. John, thanks so much for joining us today. How would you describe the economic situation in New Zealand at the moment?
Well, coincidentally, as we enter winter, I think the economic climate is also cooling. There are a number of challenges facing the New Zealand economy and households at the moment and the foreseeable future. Now, the New Zealand economy's been quite resilient over the past couple of years, and that's largely due to support from the government in terms of those wage subsidies and so forth, and also reserve banks keeping interest rates very low. But there are several factors that are headwinds as we go forward. One of those is, as we all know, rising prices, high inflation. Wages aren't keeping up with that high inflation. So people's purchasing power is taking a hit and they're able to spend less on things. In addition to that, to get on top of that high inflation, the Reserve Bank is having to put up interest rates rapidly. Now that, particularly for those highly indebted households and those that have recently purchased properties at very high prices, that is going to be quite a big hit to their disposable incomes and what they can spend on other things. In addition to that, we've got house prices starting to come off, and the New Zealand economy is very linked to the housing market, and when house prices start going down, people's confidence is affected and their ability to spend is affected. So that's also going to be a headwind for the New Zealand economy in the foreseeable future.
As you mentioned there, the Reserve Bank increasing the official cash rate just recently to take it up to a rate of 2%. What scale of impact could that have for borrowers, particularly homeowners?
Yes, I think it will have a big impact, particularly for those highly indebted households. And as I mentioned, those households that have recently purchased properties, they may have bigger mortgages, so they're going to be affected, possibly several thousands of dollars of extra interest expenses per annum. So that's going to affect them. But I think also it's also going to affect people's ability to borrow for other things, even if they haven't got large mortgages. So it is going to have an impact on the economy.
Why is the Reserve Bank increasing rates now at a time of high inflation and among all of those other challenges you've mentioned too?
Well, inflation is the Reserve Bank's key role. It's its primary job. So they need to get on top of inflation. Inflation is at the highest it's been in several generations. So they need to work quickly. They've got a lot of work to do to get inflation down. So that's why they're raising interest rates now.
We had the budget just recently too, the government announcing that it's spending more. Will that help or hinder our economy?
Well, I think in the short term it will put upward pressure on interest rates because it's putting more money into the economy, and the Reserve Bank, to control inflation, will need to counteract that to a degree. So interest rates are probably higher for particularly those indebted households. But longer term, it depends what that money is spent on. If they spend it on things that help the productive capacity of the economy, make the economy more efficient, then I think it will be good. But if it's not, if it's a bit more wasteful, then potentially it detracts from economic performance going forward.
Thanks so much, John.